ensure that when they're buying what they think they're buying, and when a home inspection goes wrong. So for me, the biggest thing for things that go wrong in a house, the hardest thing to replace in any house is a wet basement. So as you're walking around the property, you should be looking at the roof, gutters and downspouts, and how they drain onto the property, because 90% of the water that comes around a foundation comes off your roof. So if those are close to the foundation, then that's where you're going to be looking in the basement in those areas. People like to pile some things there, so feel free to just kind of have a little bit of a snoop. So that's where most of the water comes in. A wet basement is literally the hardest thing to deal with. They have to dig up foundations, and it's probably the most costly thing. If there's no gutters and downspouts, well, that's an easy fix. Stone foundations are not waterproofable. They can to the tune of 50 to 60,000, but it's not worth doing it. The other thing too, so based on the age of the house, there are different things that when you're walking through, you want to have a look at and see, so that you have a rough idea of what could possibly be in that house. So I've got some samples for you today for the knob and tube wiring that you have here. Knob and tube wiring is very distinctive. It's very brittle on the outside. To me, I kind of say it's like alligator skin, and it's one wire in a wire. So if you ever see it, it's one wire in a wire.
I've never seen these.
So these are, so it's called knob and tube. So this is when they're running it through the joist, they drill a hole, they put this in, they run this wire through here. So when you see this sticking in there, technically that's knob and tube wiring. It'll be on either side of the joist when it runs like that. And this is the tube. There is a round ceramic knob. I don't have any, I haven't managed to get any out of the house, so I pick up these things as I go along so that I can show you what it is.
You test them, right?
Yes. Yeah. So there are electrical testers that we can test to see if they're live. Most times the biggest one where I can find it is on the three-way. So when you're downstairs, you want to turn your light switch on. And then the one going upstairs, that wire generally runs the whole second floor. And it's the most expensive, most costly to replace on it. So that's where, if I'm going to find it, I'll find it in that three-way switch going from one floor to the next. You guys aren't allowed to pull the cover off, and you would never know it's there, but that's it. But a knob and tube wiring is very easily fixable. It's costly, depends on the size of the house, 10, 15, 20, 25,000. So as long as we find these things, it's not a problem. It's a matter of how your agent's going to negotiate to either have them fix it or take money off and you get it fixed. So that's what it is. The other thing too, for attics, the other most costly things, and these are things that you guys can't see. So as a home inspector, these are things that I'm looking for. I've got samples here. It's called vermiculite. This particular one here has asbestos in it, okay? It's very generally underneath all other insulation in the attic. And so as home inspectors, we don't just look into it. We're supposed to dig down in it and find it, because the average attic right now, 1,000 square foot, you're anywhere from 15 to 20,000 to remove that. So again, that's another costly thing. Yeah.
Okay. I might have, but anyway.
That's okay.
So when they, when they were doing this, like they just put this down and then put insulation on.
So sometimes that's what they did, because it's called loose fill. So it fills in every crack crevice. And it's a great product. Sometimes you will see that they've got the old craft paperback insulation, and then they wanted to add extra to it. So they put that in loose fill on top of it. The reason it's so expensive, once you're out of Kingston, any of those bins that they need to use it have to come from Kingston. So if you're having a remediation in Belleville and it's a level 3 hazmat, they have to come and take that. The bin has to be shipped up here. It gets taken out, and then it gets shipped back here to the hazardous waste field so that it gets disposed of that way. The other thing in attics, and these are things that you guys can't see, so how to best protect your buyer, make sure you're doing a home inspection, is lots of times they'll go into attics and there'll be mold in the attic. And the mold in the attic is generally lack of ventilation, your soffit, the overhang. The air flows up from there and then it pushes it out the roof vent. Low levels of insulation. Heat goes through, like so, as the heat goes through your drywall, your plastic paper, your insulation, the goal is by the time it gets on the other side in the cold zone, it's cold. But when it hits that cold decking, it turns to frost condensation. or the exhaust fan to the bathroom will be in there, and that will cause mold and mildew. Local company in our area, they use a chemical spray, which is non-hazardous to people in the house. They will spray it. It neutralizes it, puts it back to pristine plywood. And then they give a 10-year warranty as long as the issue that caused it is fixed. So if it's not socket ventilation, they will fix that for it. So the house I was in a couple of days ago, I called them. We know it's going to be $2,500 to do the mold in the attic. It's about 1,000 square foot attic, and they're going to charge $500 because I couldn't see anything at the soffit. So when I turn my flashlight off in the attic, I should be able to see in the overhang so much. And that's why I know that's what caused that for. The vermiculite, no one should be touching it unless they've had some kind of a course on it. So I actually pay extra on my insurance premium a year to take that sample. So what I do is if I'm in the attic and I see it, I will no longer just take a sample unless the homeowner has given me permission to take that sample, because the agent had me do it one time. And the homeowner tried to charge me with that for product from their attic. So I always offer to do that free while I'm there, because one, the asbestos is heavy. So over time, if you have this much vermiculite in your attic, the asbestos is at the bottom. So you have to go in very gently, go all the way down to the bottom, stir it up, and scoop from there and take it from 3 different areas in the attic. And generally, I do that right close to it because I don't want to crawl through the house. Because if it has asbestos, I just contaminated that person's house. When you take your light fixture down to change it, that asbestos drops into the house. The mold in the attic, I used to think that it wasn't really a health hazard issue, but when you open your door to the front door in the older houses, there's no plastic box around it, it's not airtight, those mold spores get sucked into the house. It's just the vacuum effect of it. Other than that, knob tube wiring, galvanized plumbing, all these things are fixable. It just matters in the inspector. We just need to do our due diligence and make sure we find it. In Kingston down here, there's still a lot of lead water lines feeding into some of the older houses. So the thing that some of them will do is you need to make sure that they have a lead sample tape done on the water, because in Brockville, all Brockville has most of their infrastructure is still all lead water lines, but they do testing on a regular basis to make sure that the lead level you're drinking is acceptable. So that's where it is. And sometimes if you're looking at the lead lines here in Kingston, when it comes out, it'll actually blow out to like a little bit of a ball. And then that's how they connect it to the copper. So they have to expand it to do that. Okay. IPEX, Kitex, Poly-D, Plumb Better, or all other types of plumbing that could have an issue. So if you're in a house and you're downstairs and you can see the plumbing and you see gray plumb, gray, very distinct, it's Poly-D. It is an insurance issue. They don't like to deal with it. So the Poly-D is polybutylene. As the chlorinated water goes through it, it actually is breaking down the plastic, and that's why they have leaks. So that's why insurance companies don't want it. Kitec, an orange and a light blue that has an aluminum sleeve, and then again, as the chlorine goes through it, it ain't aluminum sleeve, and people have leaks in it, and it delaminates. You'll see it. It'll look just like it'll be bulging in different areas of it. Plumb Better is another one that was Plumb Better and IPEX were lumped into under the Kitec. Most of the times it's not a problem, but there is one all or PEX all PEX. If you see it, it'll have that on it, P all P. So that means you got PEX, the plastic light blue or orangey red. It'll have an aluminum sleeve in it, and then it'll have another clear PEX inside. Those ones are generally pretty good, and you will know. Start carrying a little screwdriver around with you, tap on it. If it's tinny sounding, you know you've got that in there. Most times it was the fittings and the crimps that the chlorine kind of worked its way through that. So most times that's just a replacement of the fittings. You don't have to replace the whole lines unless the ultimate insurance company says you have to do that with it. Structure, so crawl spaces. Most agents don't go into crawl space. So when you're looking at something with a crawl space, if you don't see anywhere that it can breathe and you look in it, it's got a dirt floor, we're a high risk of rot. And again, that's very costly to replace. So anything with a dirt floor, Any kind of soil needs airflow in the summer, because if not, the ground can get up to 15 gallons of moisture a day in that crawl space. And the wood will slowly absorb that, and that's what you get dry rot. So they just rot, you get mold, mildew, that kind of stuff. And the other thing too, when you're looking at a house, so for me, when I walk up, grading. In Ontario, vinyl and wood are supposed to, I should see 8 inches of your foundation, because at the top of the foundation is the sill plate. It's the weakest part of every house. When that gets very below grade, that wicks it in, and then it rots your structure under there. So vinyl and wood are supposed to be 8 inches above grade, and metal and brick are supposed to be 6 inches above grade. So a lot of people like to pile their gardens up against the brick and everything, and it just destroys the brick. There's weak drainage holes, everything gets pulled in against there. So those are kind of things when you're looking at a house that kind of help you to do it, just to arm your buyer with some kind of knowledge and information on that.
So, and a wet crawl space.
Needs to breathe all summer. So you can have what they call a dry one. So what they do is they put plastic down on the ground, they tape it up to the sides, and then they spray foam around there. And that makes it a dry environment, so no groundwater can get up. Ultimately, it's the groundwater that comes up. And that's where the wood absorbs it, and it just like literally rots the wood away. And I'm going to say it can take anywhere from 5 to 8 years to totally destroy a whole new structure. I did one, and they spent all this money, redid all the structure and everything, closed it all up, and within 5 years, it literally was dripping wet, full of mold, and all the structure was rotted. Where there was there was nothing they could do. The cottage had to come down. Yes.
Do you mind, or if I
No, ask me, because I can help you with the wet basement. Some of them are fixable, some of it's roof rotted and grade.
I've helped clients in the past, and honestly, the only thing that they could afford was something that had a wet basement.
Yeah.
And there was no way around it unless they waited, but they couldn't wait.
Okay.
We didn't go with this one of them, but it was built in like the 50s.
Yeah.
It was in Kingsport, and then this was last year, and it was just they spray foamed all of the walls, but you couldn't see anything.
No.
And then there was water still coming up from.
So the only thing you can do, is it a concrete floor or a dirt floor? It was a concrete floor. So the only thing they can do for that, there's a couple of ways to do it. Either dig up all around the outside, you put all the weeping down, you put the waterproof membrane, you backfill with gravel and soil, and that takes care of the groundwater. You put a sump pump in, and it takes any water that comes around the house into that sump pump, and then you pump it out. The other thing that they do is they'll cut the inside perimeter of the foundation. They'll dig that all out. And then they'll dig it out about 1.5 feet, and they'll put gravel, drainage tube, and everything so that it takes the water from around the perimeter and do it. Sometimes if it's mason block walls, so those concrete masonry units, so cement cinder block, they'll drill a hole in the bottom of each one of those blocks, because sometimes the blocks will carry water, and they want to drain the water out and away from it, and that's how they drain that out. It goes into the sump pump. It still weakens the block, but it is one of the retrofits. So just literally, it's still probably about $5,000 to $10,000 to even do that. And again, that will depend on the logistics of how much room these people have to work in, because they have to break up the concrete and then have to dig it out and carry it all out. So that is another fix for it. When you spray foam like that, and this is the new thing that I found out about stone foundations. So lots of times people are spray foaming the stone foundations. So stone foundations are not waterproof, and they have a limestone mortar in between them. So when that water comes through, it does evaporate and dry. Now they're spray foaming the foundations, and those stone foundations are not on footings. They were just placed on the ground. So what they're finding, especially in the US, they're spray foaming that, and then that's channeling the water down to the bottom row of stones, and it's washing it out in the foundation surrounding. You can do that. Spray foaming a foundation is fine as long as you have some kind of a drainage.
Yeah. It looks like they didn't have any. They
No.
just spray about it. It looked like they were just hiding.
Yeah, so if they're spray foaming to do that, so those people there, then it's roof water, it's grading that's coming in. If the concrete floor is dry and it's just at the perimeter, the water is coming from outside. So check your roof, like gutters, downspouts. So they have that on there. Are they 6 feet away? Does the grading slope back towards the house? So ideally, you would want for every foot that your grass comes away, it drops an inch. So you'd have a nice 6-inch grade 6 feet away from the house. And you push your downspouts 6 feet away. Every builder puts them right there. You want to do it.
But that's so much fun. So
Maybe start with the roof water. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just get them to clean their gutters and downspouts out. Make sure they're draining. They're not pooling water. And then you can get that black old pipe. It's cheap. And put it and just drain it away. If that dries it up, and have them have a fan, a dehumidifier going in that crawl space so that they don't get mold mildew in it. So in Ontario, we are a super humid province. Every house in Ontario, as soon as you're done with your heating system, you need a dehumidifier. And you generally would keep it at 35%. Unless you have hardwood flooring, you need between 42 and 45. But you put it down there. People like to jam stuff up against the outside walls. Don't do that. Everything has to breathe. And no cardboard boxes on concrete. Like even though we could touch a concrete. We touched this concrete floor today. Picked up this carpet and touched this concrete floor. It's dry to our hand. If I use my moisture meter on it, it's 100% wet. So those are the kind of things that they can do to really help it. And just ventilate it. Have an airflow going through. That will really help dry it up, keep dry. And you do that in the summer. You airflow a crawl space all summer long. And in the winter, you close it up to keep the heat out.
and I mean, ideally, I don't want people to buy it with these. Like,
But
that's
sometimes
what
they
you're
don't
saying?
have to. Sometimes they have to. But there are fixes that you start with that are, less expensive than anything else, and go from that. But a dehumidifier will really help with any kind of moisture. They're still $300-400, and tell them to keep it at 35% and let that breathe all summer long. So the other thing that I want to touch up, so most of the times when I'm looking at a house, so based on the age of the house, you're just got to make sure that you're kind of looking. It's just, I'll try and maybe get some slides together and send it to the office of different things and label like high-tech plumbing, poly B, any of those kind of things that I think that if you visually saw it, you would have a rough idea of what you're looking at, so that you could go and go, got a problem here. And honestly, I do tell people, I do have agents, if you see something you're not sure, take a picture, text it to me. You'll be amazed at what I could answer in a crawl space or an attic. I just had one driving up here, an agent sent me a picture. Is this asbestos floor tile? No, it's vinyl. So yeah, and same thing in an attic. If you're not sure, feel free to text me it. I've got a head full of information. I'm willing to share it. And I don't mind answering those questions on the side. And if I can't answer, I will eventually, when I get back out to the car, I'll send a message back to you for it. Banny, so 2001 to I think 2008, Banny, the HRVs have a problem with the switches. So a lot of them, when I see those, it's the old beige HRV. It can have a faulty switch on it. The model number starts, or the serial number starts with 160. That company will send you the switch because they're known to catch on fire. Okay. What else would you like to know? Furnaces. Let me talk about furnaces. So brand new furnaces generally have a 10-year warranty on the heat exchanger. That warranty is only valid if you've had it serviced yearly. So if at year 9, your heat exchanger goes, the heating guy comes in and he goes, oh, your heat exchanger's gone. And you call up the manufacturer and they say, oh, it's got a 10-year warranty. And they're like, so show me the paperwork that you had it serviced yearly. Because if you can't prove that, you're not covered. Okay.
Sneaky.
Oh, well, it's the same as your car. Your car comes with a manufacturer warranty. They have a book in it. And if you don't follow those rules, your warranty is void. So they all do it everywhere. It's out there everywhere. Air conditioners for the winter, I always recommend that you turn the power off to them because they do draw phantom hydro. Never wrap them up airtight. Board 2 bricks on top or tarp on the top half. If you make it nice and warm and toasty, the mice will nest in there. They'll chew all your wires. It's a breathable item. It's meant to tolerate that. Heat pumps. This is the other thing I'm seeing with heat pumps. So a heat pump is the Slim Jim rectangular one.
And if you read on the end, it'll say heat pump on it. So they are to be raised up off the ground. Too many times I see them in a $2 million home. They were all sitting on the ground. So they go in defrost mode. So it's your air conditioner summer runs this way, grabs all the warm, muggy air from inside, dumps it outside, and cools your house down. So right now in the winter, it's taking the warm air that's outside, bringing it in. But on cold days, they frost up. So they go into defrost. They have a heat exchanger in the bottom of it. And when you set that heat exchanger and you set that unit on the ground, that ice and water doesn't drain off. It cracks the heat exchanger. So whenever you see anything, if anybody's advertising a heat pump, make sure it's raised up off the ground. If it's not raised up on the ground, question it, okay? Because that's important. So like I did one house and the people were out and I'm like, oh, are those heat pumps? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, they're supposed to be raised up off the ground. Just walked on, but they just moved in. And if they didn't get an inspection and the home inspector didn't catch it, that can be an issue. Okay. Heat pumps have to be raised up at least a foot off the ground so that when they go and defrost, the water can drain down and it's not sitting in the water, freezing and cracking the heat exchanger up.
Why are they called heat pumps? Because they're made for.
So the heat pump is so there's two. There's a mini split that does heating and cooling. And then the heat pumps are large ones. And what they do is they're air conditioner in the summer and in the winter they are a heat pump. So they work in reverse. So the heat pump is what pulls the warm air from outside in, and that's why they call it a heat pump. So it's a dual purpose.
Can it be classified? Like, can that be your primary heat source?
So they could, if they could withstand the Canadian winter. You can't have it. So I have electric baseboard heat. I have 2 gas fireplaces. And I have 2 ductless AC heat pumps because I don't have it. My AC heat pumps are only good for -24. In Ontario, we get colder weather than that. So they don't do it. So it's a risk of your pipes freezing. So you have to have, if I ever went to sell my house, you'd be listing it as electric baseboard heat with 2 gas fireplaces and a heat pump. My primary is my electric baseboard heat because that's what's going to cover off the whole house. A heat pump does not cover off a whole house. It only does rooms or sections of them. And there's some that are only good for -10, -24. I think the most you can get is -34, but it's always that risk that they cannot cover the whole house. So your pipes freeze. So it would be an assured. It's more or less a secondary one.
Oh, that's okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You never slows down, eh?
Pardon me?
You never slows down.
No, I don't. No. So yeah, the heat pump is that secondary unit of it, and that's what you would use for it. They are great. They're very super efficient. 5 years ago, I would not tell you that until I had mine installed 3 years ago. The gas fireplaces, we'd spend between $3,000 and $5,000 a year to heat the house with propane, 2-story, 2,400 square foot home. Since we put the heat pumps in, this year alone, my hydro has only gone up $1,000 complete to cool and heat my house. Because remember, I never had air conditioning. And so far this year, I've spent $400 in propane. So that's how efficient they are. They're very super efficient. We are more like an open concept area on the main floor, but yeah, they do heat really, really well. So I'm going to touch off and I'm going to talk to you about home inspections. So I belong to CAPI, the Canadian Association of Home Property Inspectors, and we do have a standards of practice. I think our association and the Ontario Association of Home Inspectors, we do a terrible job of promoting who we are and what our expectations should be and what we do. So we are not regulated, or we are not licensed in the province of Ontario. Only Alberta and BC are licensed. Quebec will be coming in 2027. The bill is sitting on Doug Ford's desk since he took over. We were this close. He stalled us and there's nothing we can do. We send an email weekly. So right there, it's standards of practice. It tells you for the electrical what we're supposed to do. It tells you for the heating what we're supposed to do. So I suggest you learn when you're with a home inspector and pay attention to what they are or are not doing. There is internationally from Toronto. Some of them have not Toronto, from the US. Some of them have a CMI status, Certified Master Inspector. They didn't have to go through the testing that we have to go through here in Ontario. Actually, tomorrow, if you want to be a home inspector, you go out and register a business. When you call yourself a home inspector, nobody's checking to see whether you're trained, whether you're certified, whether you're insured, or anything else along that idea. People during COVID did 5-point inspections. During COVID, it was harder. I sometimes was given an hour to go through a house. If I don't have to deal with clients, I could go through the house in an hour. You'd be amazed at what I can get in an hour through a house, from a roof to the attic, crawl space, electrical. I might not be able to pull the cover off the electrical panel, but I could get through the majority of it. Nobody should be doing 5 points. No client should be asking to do a 5-point. So I had somebody in Kingston call me up and say, oh, I want you to check just a couple of things at my house. And I'm like, so are you not worried about the other things? I just want to check the furnace, I want to check the roof, and I want you to check the plumbing and the electrical. Not a problem. I said, I don't do that and I won't do it. It's not a standards of practice. And they agreed to do the full inspection, which is good because they had major structural issues in that house. They had sewer lines that were ready to, the drain was already leaking raw sewage into the basement. So like, pick and choose your battles, do the full inspection. And 500 plus HST, I'm well worth the money, because one thing can save you thousands, right? People will pay $1 million for a house, but they question about spending 500 for a home inspection. But I'm going through, I'm looking in the attics, I'm looking everywhere and pulling covers off. And I've been doing it for 19 years, so I have the knowledge and I know what I'm looking for in each house. So when I talk to people, I say to them, what's the age of your house? This is what I'm looking for. I just did an old farmhouse people inherited. Unfortunately, in the walls is vermiculite, which probably has asbestos in it. Now they know that going into the full renovations that they want to do, that they're going to have to do a level 3 remediation to take all that asbestos out of it. So it's just different things. There's always going to be sloped floors in older houses. There's always going to be settlement cracks and foundations. Terrion, so I brought some Terrion information for you, and I'll leave this all here for you. Terrion has a 7-year warranty on their house. That 7-year warranty is only valid one. The builder will set you up with a registration number. But if you don't go on and sign and log in and set your own profile up and you fail to do that, you miss out on it. So the builder will do a PDI. There's things there right from Terrion, 5 things homeowners miss doing their own PDI. You can have someone do a PDI like me. Preferably, I don't like to do that, but because I've been walked off a couple of sites. But there's a paperwork that someone else can go and do that for you and walk through it. Then you have a 30-day. So a 30-day, if you don't do your 30-day and you do your 1 year and you have nail pops on the 1 year, it's not warrantable. They will only mud. They're only required to mud it, not sand and paint it. If you catch that nail pop on 30-day, they have to mud, sand, and paint the whole area. Like they have to fix it all. If you don't find on your PDI, your granite countertops, the builder isn't going to walk around and do this around your granite countertops. But I will on your 30-day. But on your 30-day, if I find a chip, they're going to blame you. If I find a scratch in the floor, they're going to blame you because you've been in the house. So for me, I always tell people I want to do your 30-day. You get the keys today. I want in tomorrow. I want in before your furniture, anything comes, because then I can make sure that I've gone through everything for you. I'm going to walk through with my tape and I'm going to mark areas that are warrantable. A flaw in the wall has to be visible at a certain distance. Cracks and foundations have to meet certain distance. Floors that are sloped, we have to measure a 10-foot area with a string. If it's 6 millimeters or more, it's warrantable. It's 5 millimeters, it's not. So they do have, so that's what that big book is there. It's called the CPG guidelines. They do have rules and regulations and guidelines, and it has to fall within those parameters, or it's not warrantable. If there's mortar on the outside of your house that they were sloppy when they put the brick on, and you can see it from 6 feet away, it's warrantable. If you can't see it from 6 feet away, it's not warrantable. So really, I think the best thing, if you've got people buying new homes, have them call me. I'll be more than happy to give them any kind of information on the phone of what they need to do and how they need to do it. And if you don't find if you forget to do your 1 year and then you do your 2 year, which the exterior, so 1 year the roof comes off, 2 year your exterior comes off. If you didn't catch the caulking missing around your exterior on the 1 year, you're not covered on the 2 year. So there's all kinds of rules. So for me, I really want to get into someone's house as soon as you get the keys. you get the keys Thursday night. I want it in 9 o'clock in the morning. I want to be free furniture and I want it because then we can prove that it is. I'm looking to see if your cabinet doors aren't lined up, if the knobs aren't lined up. It's warrantable.
And you can explain, like, once is your home inspection on a new build prior to if it's in condition. And then you can explain like in more detail.
Yeah.
Those warranties.
Yeah, so like it's, if you wait and do it on your 30-day and there's a problem with your countertop, the builder will blame you. And they will get away with it. So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. Not too many of them will own up. Scratch on the floor, your furniture's in, you scratch the floor. But if there's no furniture in and we go in, it's not. I had homeowners do it. They did their PDI with the builder and I was there at 9 o'clock the next morning. The furnace was sitting in a puddle of water and the builder told him it's okay, it will dry up. And I'm like, no, it's not allowed. And not one of the ceilings in the whole house were painted. And his furniture was arriving in an hour and a half. So it may sound, and I charge 500 plus HST for that. It's a whole different system. So what you see in that CPG guidelines, it all falls under there. So Tarion has it. If I see something that doesn't meet Ontario building code, I will put that code in there because it forces the builder to react much quicker. And Tarion will be on it if I can prove it's code. So I do have code certificates, Part 9, building envelope, health and safety. So that's why I know to throw those things in there and how to really advocate for the homeowner so that the builder can't say, oh no, I can't do that. There's the code, there's the explanation, and this is what they have to do with it. So there are lots of home inspectors that do the Tarion warranty. It's not a regular home inspection. It's a completely different other form and system that's in there. And it's a whole different setup. So I'm going in and I'm putting it under that. You can't just let a home inspector go in and do a home inspection because they're going to call out stuff that isn't warrantable. And then you've just set that client up for failure. So I think the best thing you can do for yours is run a home buyer seminar. Be more than happy to come out and talk to your people so that they understand the Tarion system. I'd be more than happy to do that. It just makes it 100% easier for them to know how to get the best for they paid for how to better utilize the system. It's very misunderstood. It's not utilized to its maximum. And people just don't, I go into houses and I see stuff that I know should have been warranted. It's not, I can't say anything because it's past it. So, and I'll talk to you about home inspectors. So we are not licensed in the province of Ontario. There is no way that you can check to make sure I'm insured unless you ask me for my insurance certificate that all home inspectors that are insured are supposed to carry. So I'll show you, this is what it looks like. It tells you what I'm covered for, what my coverage is. I do pay monthly, and says I'm covered for the year, but if I decide not to pay for the rest of the year, you're still looking at a certificate that says I'm valid, but I'm not. So I'm just going to tell you that you need to make sure that you have the right to ask every inspector, can I see your certificate of insurance? We all get them from all the insurance companies. If you're insured properly, you will have that certificate. And at any point in time, everybody should be able to ask for that. Again, 5-point inspections, it's not, if we're going into a house, we should be doing the whole thing. I always encourage clients to attend it. They should be there because let's say I'm walking through the house with you and I'm telling your garage door man opener, your man door closure isn't working properly. I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Your clients are paying for the inspection. They should be able to attend it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think they should come within the first hour. I don't expect them to follow me up on a roof or go into a crawl space, but they at least should be there so that they can ask any questions. Arm your buyers with the insurance requirement that the insurance company wants. So I always tell them, talk to your insurance company, get a list of questions. What I don't want your clients to do is to send them my report because I'm going to point out everything and that will just drive the premiums up. So most times I tell them, talk to your insurance company because most conditions are financing, insurance, home inspection. Start getting your clients to ask those, tell them I'm looking at buying this house. What do I need to know so that they can bring that and I'll answer that. I'll answer those questions right then and there for them without having to have them provide the insurance company. with my report, because I'm gonna tell you caulking around doors and windows. I'm gonna put a recommendation of what type of product you should use. I'm gonna tell you your furnace needs to be serviced yearly. I'm gonna point out that there might be some previous water damage, and when these insurance companies see these things, it can drive the premiums up, and if you can't get insurance, you can't get a mortgage, you can't buy a house. Oil tanks. So oil tanks are slowly a thing of the past. There are still some dollars out there for your clients that have oil. So if you have somebody that's looking at selling a house and it's got an oil tank in there, I know in my area there's EOS heating, and then there's Excalibur heating. They still work with it. There still is for some that qualify for it. Like retirees, pensions, there's $10,000, up to $10,000 out there for them to replace their heating system. So the heating guy comes in, they do an assessment on your oil system, they fill out the documents, they give that paperwork to the government. The government now will figure out what you qualify. They'll send that check directly to you. You get your heating system done. So homeowners aren't putting that money out, pensioners aren't putting that money out to update their systems on it.
Now,
So-
where is that through, Karen?
You'd have to ask, yeah, I don't know. I just know Andrew from EOS and Donovan from Excalibur, just like
They would know the source of
they
it,
would
that.
know the source, and I think they have to fill out the documents. So wherever they get those documents from, I've never seen it on any rebate program, but I know there's money out there for that. So, which will really help.
Mhm.
I believe there's still money out for heat pumps. So anybody that's replacing an air conditioner, encourage them to go a heat pump, because I still think there's $75 out there for heat pumps. There still is an energy rebate program out there. It's $100 a window. There's extra money for insulation in attics and stuff like that. So it's one of the things you can think of.
Or oil tanks if they're, the premium's higher.
It used to be $50, I can't imagine. Like they used to have just an extra $50 rider on your policy for it. So if you guys see an oil tank out there, on the back's a little blue tag, 10 years is what they are. And when you're looking at the bottom, you'll see this extra little piece welded on the front, on the end of it. That means it's a double bottom tank. So most times insurance companies won't take a single one. If you ever see what is called like a saddle, a sling that it sits on, that's a really old tank. In Brighton, there are some areas where oil tanks are still buried.
You
So
learn about buried oil tanks so much in your courses.
yeah,
Like, I'm never gonna see this. I never take this.
one of the things that you can see, so when you're in a basement, if you see an old fashioned little spigot and a little turn, that's generally because there's an oil tank on the other side of the wall, and that's how they drained it. Yeah, so you'll just see a spigot and the old fashioned little wing nut thing. Yeah, it just comes out there. That was how they drained the oil.
With the oil tanks, you'll have to have a yearly inspection from the oil.
So most oil companies don't do the yearly.
Yes,
Are
they
they
do.
are they doing it
So
now?
I just bought a house that has an oil tank, and it was only approved because the oil tank was put in a year ago.
Okay,
So I'm good for 10 years,
yeah,
but I have to get yearly
inspection, TSSA inspection.
Cost $175.
Yes, yeah.
At the end of the 10 years, you get a new oil.
Every year. Well, I have to decide. So my furnace is like really good oil furnace, so I don't want to change it. And honestly, I've had oil, I've had natural gas, I've had propane. I prefer oil.
Oil has a higher heat. So because it's more fossil fuel, it really will warm a house up really well. I just did a house the other day, and actually the furnace had a sticker in 1991 on it. So that was 91. Yeah, it's 1979. So when I pull off the front of those older furnaces, and it's got the old fan, the drum fan that's in it rather than the venter motor, yellow label right on the front of it that says 1979 on it. That's where you find the ages on those.
And for agents, I recommend tell the client to ask who the current insurance carrier is, because
Sometimes take their policy.
yeah, you won't
Yeah.
get a new insurance.
No, I always tell people, like, look, everything looks good. It's in good working condition. As long as it'll pass an inspection by TSSA, consider taking their policy over, finding out who they're insured with. Say, hey, listen, I hear you're insured with them. People are happy with you. Sell yourself to them. And I just would like to continue staying on with you. Is that an option? And you could do that. The other thing I see is so furnaces, hot water tanks, and the ACs for aging and date. It's generally in the serial number that you're looking for that. It'll either be the first and second or the third and fourth. All you have to do while you're right out in the field is Google Goodman AC date code, and it'll tell you right there where to look on it so that you can get those. Yeah.
And then I always say, it might be.
Some of the most,
I'll say-
some of it'll write on the label, it'll say September 2018.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, if you're not sure, send me a picture, because if it's your listing. So I strongly, like, pre-inspections would be so much better, because if you're doing a pre-inspection, there's going to be no surprises for your people. The only downfall with a pre-inspection is if it's got vermiculite in the attic and somebody waives their inspection, you're not paying that to get it out. But at least you can disclose it, price it appropriately for that kind of stuff. Yeah, like in the hotter market, they should have been doing more pre-inspections. After COVID, I was called in to do some inspections when people bought, so now they want to know what they bought. So luckily for mine, they were all pretty good. There wasn't any total train wrecks in there. So
But there are train wrecks out there.
there are lots of train wrecks out there. I'm going to 2 train wrecks tomorrow. I've already been to these properties. I like literally sent the contractor, said, please don't pay. Please don't pay in advance. I've been at this property previously. I just need to make sure. So tomorrow I'm just going straight out to where I know the garage wall is not sitting on the foundation, going in the crawl space, because there was just the whole septic system and all the plumbing and everything was done right. There's just some major structural issues. So I don't want to take somebody's money if it's still a total train wreck. I'm just going in there and going like, look,
Checking,
it's,
double check.
yeah, yeah. And then the other one was a new septic system. So I sent him one and said, look, I was there before. I know there's some issues with the septic. And he messaged me back, oh no, the septic's been replaced. Good, because the rest of it was just like electrical, plumbing, some other stuff. That stuff's all fixable for me. It's not any reason to walk away. I have people say to me, oh, do you think it's a good deal for the house? As a home inspector, my comment is, I don't know the market. That's not got anything to do with me. I'm here looking for defects. There's no pass or fail. There's defects. And it depends on what the defect is. And then you guys take it. I'm going to find a defect. Now it's your role to figure out what you want to do with it. But big or small, for me, everybody has their own price. What's a 5,000, issue to someone may not be a 5,000 issue to another one. And, like somebody says, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know your budget for that kind of stuff. Okay, what else would you like to know?
Does anyone online have any questions?
Sure, I have a question. Thanks for doing this today, Karen. You are a wonderful home inspector. I've used you before.
I do it to type if
Yeah.
I have anything.
I give every one of my clients one of these home reference books. It's kind of like their homeowner manual. It tells you everything around there. If you go under installation into crawl spaces at the back, it will show you exactly what you can do and how you can deal with the crawl space on that. So it does help you do that. The pricing guidelines, unfortunately, those books just came in a couple of weeks ago. They still are pre-COVID pricing. So I always tell people work to the high end and go up, because I think right now the average price to build a house is something like $400 or $500 per square foot. It's astronomically crazy on there. So, and radon. So Terrion will cover radon up to 7 years, the full 7-year warranty on it. So if you've got clients buying a new house, I encourage you to get them to get the 91. So the only one that Terrion will cover is the 91 day. It's a little canister puck. It's about $100 online to buy. And you can order them from Amazon. It's very specific rules. And that is the only one test that Terrion will warrant, is you have to have that 91 day coverage. And if it is, all it is it's the air underneath the house. They have a little 4-inch pipe, a little turbo on top. It sucks fresh air from it outside. They drill a hole in, they blow that air under the slab. There's another machine on the other side, identical to it, sucking it out and dumping it outside. So it's to change it. HRVs do help change the air in the house too, but it's still not classed as a proper remediation for it. So make sure if you have anybody buying a new house, that they understand their carry-on warranty, because it's kind of the most misunderstood, misused. Right next to an HRV, nobody knows how to function those things. And then the other thing too, for builders, there is a website, and there's a governing body, Home Construction Regulatory Authority. So they're called the HCRA. You can go on that and find the builder, and you can look at what the comments are on the builder and everything on there. So you have that ability to go in there and do that. You have an ability to go in and pull up a house on that HCRA and see if there's any complaints about that house. There is a different area where you can go in and pull in, plug in. So if you went in there and did like any 108 Green Haven, you could see any issues with that house, any complaints against the builder with that house. So any new houses, the HCRA, so what they're doing is everybody has to be licensed in Ontario. If the builder isn't licensed and you don't think they're licensed, you can report them to them and they'll research them and see if that is. The way they get around of not having to have a carry-on warranty and having to be registered in Ontario is, I'm a contractor, you're buying the lot, you want to hire me to build the house, I don't need a license. So nobody is governing you. So if you make mistakes, it's buyer beware. You have to rely on the municipality to do their due diligence, that they're going to inspect the property and make sure that everything's good. So you have that HCRA. So the Home Construction Regulatory Authority, if it's not built properly, you can complain to them. If there's builder conduct, you can complain to them about that. And not just the homeowner can do it. Anybody can lodge a complaint. So I've been in a subdivision where there's some houses that are less than desirable and they've done a lot of issues. So I lodged the complaint against them. And it is a mark against them. So, and the other thing with carry-on, you do your PDI with the builder. The builder now has 120 days to do that work. At day 121, if he hasn't done that work, then you go to carry-on, you pay $250, and the builder will be now given another 60 days to do that work. And if they don't, there'll be a deadline date. Carry-on shows up. If there is one warrantable item on that list, the builder gets a black mark and a fine, and you get your money back. Most times you will see the builder will try and pay you off. I'll offer you cash for something. So I have a client that has a house, the toilet, the center of the toilet to a wall on either side, is supposed to be 15 inches. Well, it's not on the shower. So the builder wants to give him $1,500 to move his toilet. The problem is it's a finished basement, so you need access underneath to move that plumbing. It's porcelain tile, so you got to rip that up. And now what if you have to cut through joists and it logistically won't go? It's going to be more than $1,500. So you have to be careful on what you're doing. If you have homeowners that have issues, get them to get a quote from a plumber of what it's going to cost to replace that, move that toilet. And remember, a plumber moves the plumbing. They don't do the drywall, the flooring, or anything like that. So you have to really make sure that you're doing your due diligence and educating your homeowner on how that system works. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. So same thing, everything. They do have these deadlines and they do have them. But if you don't follow that process, let's say you did that, you never followed up on it, they won't warranty it after a deadline. If your 1 year comes up, you're done. If you don't do your PDI, your 30-day, your 1 year, your 2 year, and your 7 years, so 7 years, major structural defects, and you can lodge that complaint at any point in time in the 7 years. If you get a crack and it exceeds the parameters, then you still have to go through that process. You can contact the builder, but really you have to follow that process. If you don't, they don't have to do much with it.
That's great info, because I think a lot of people buy new homes and they just think, I've moved into my new home, I'm good.
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
it's not. I have one house right now, like I said earlier. I'll be meeting the homeowner's lawyer in Toronto. It's a $1.5 million lawsuit. The house is not fixable. They've already ripped it apart once. It's a major structural mess. And if he didn't do his due diligence and do that at 30 days, he would never know he has a mess. And I can't tell you how many attics I'm in. So sometimes it's not the builder, it's their tradespeople that are in there that do it and they give the builder a bad name. Lots of times I go into an attic, blown fiberglass, it's supposed to be 30 some odd inches and I go down there and there's only 18. You would never know that as a homeowner unless you hire the appropriate person that has the knowledge to do that and follows those things. And they have to come back and do it. I just did a 6-month-old house in Belleville. The garage, it's stucco on the front. It's a townhouse. There's mold all in the corners of the garage. There's mold above the garage door. The house is 6 months old. It's pretty mold. Blue, green, pink, all kinds of nice looking mold. And they got my name through a website or like from someone else. And I went over to the house and the roof wall flashing is not there. So every time, and it's a huge roof, every time that water comes into that valley, the way her house is set up, the water comes in and it's running down the sides, it's running across the garage door, it's running down the walls, and it's running behind the stucco. It's huge. For $50 worth of flashing, it's huge water damage, huge. It's not visible from inside, but I put the ladder up there and you can see it. And then when I lift that up, now I see 2 electrical lines that shouldn't be where they're supposed to be. So now they got that problem on top of it. So it depends on the knowledge of the inspector. We're not all the same out there. I do take as many new inspectors out and train them, and they're more than welcome to stay with me. So if you ever know anybody that's interested in doing the course, hey, they can come along, tag along. I think we need to build the best, and that's my goal, is to build the best inspectors. So training them, helping them, mentoring them, it's all free. I just want to build the best inspectors.
And just because, like you mentioned, a 6-month-old house, just because a house is new or newer doesn't mean there's not going to be issues.
Oh, no.
I had a house years ago that was 2 years old.
Yeah.
The attic was full of mold, completely, absolutely full of mold. And the rest of the house looked great. Visibly, it was great until you go in the attic.
I just did a house that was from 2001. And there's 2 attics, one in the main house and one in the garage. And when I went into the one in the garage, when you walk in the house, you got this big foyer. It's never been insulated in 26 years. It's changed hands, but nobody's noticed. It's never been insulated. So that whole front entrance will always be cold. And you can see where the heat's gone up in the plastic vapor. You can see where moisture has been in between the 2 of them. It's not moldy or anything. But yeah, it's never had insulation in that area. I've done new houses where I've done there 1 year and they're like, it's really cold. So you crawl through the attic and into the other one. And yeah, there's no insulation. Now we have infrared cameras, so it's a lot easier to go, yeah, you're missing it here. We can take a picture of it. So it depends on the inspector. Nobody has to go up on a roof. There are tools, there are drones, and there are eye sticks. I still climb on every roof I possibly can because you just get to see way more on there. This past year, ice damming has been an all-time high. I've never in 19 years seen the like of what we've had. And what ice damming is it backs the ice on the lower level builds up, and it's logistics this year. It had nothing to do. Some of them are poor insulation, some of them are new houses, and it backed up underneath. So when I'm in, I could see the plywood underneath is soaking wet, and taking that ice off was expensive. There was a YouTube hack that took a knee-high pantyhose, filled it full of that sock, tied a rope to it, threw it up on there, and it'd melt through the ice, and it allows the water to drain because you needed to get that water off from behind it. You don't want to use axes. I've seen some axe damages on this. But yeah, this is an all-time. If we have a repeat of a winter, people should be putting those electric heat cables up. It just literally was how our winter went this year. Any other questions? Do they have any questions?
None online. No, everyone's pretty quiet.
So for the oil tanks.
Yes.
If it gets to the 10 years.
Yes.
Are you required to replace it, or it's on the homeowner to do that?
If the company that's doing the inspection won't take it, only a licensed oil tech can do it. So if he doesn't have the specific, there's an OPG, oil propane gas guy. If he's a propane gas, he can't touch oil. And the oil guys are slowly fading out. Not too many of them are keeping their oil license. So you really have to look for somebody that does oil, propane, gas. And it literally say on there OPG. And that's what the OPG on an HVAC guy's truck will do it. You are not allowed to do that. In the eyes of the insurance company, a 5-liter oil spill is an environmental disaster. You're now bringing TSSA in, the Technical Standard Safety Authority. They're going to come in, they're going to inspect that, they're going to do all the stuff, and they're going to deem what you need to do. Then your insurance company is going to come in, and if it's been leaking and it's soaked through the concrete floor and it's in the ground, then you could be into millions of dollars. That's why
It's
they're
not the
getting rid
oil tank that's the problem, is the furnace. Because you need a new furnace to burn whatever fuel you're going to do to it.
Yeah. But like you can't, so if you have an oil, if your oil tank's good and your furnace is not, you need to buy an oil furnace. You can't put a gas furnace in it. It just doesn't work. So most of the new furnaces are gas furnaces. When they change them to propane, what I'm looking for when I'm opening up a furnace is I'm looking for a gas fitter's tag to tell me that they've changed the orifice to a different one from the gas, because the gas and propane are two different fuels, and they have to change that orifice or the furnace doesn't work properly, and they require to put that sticker in there. The other big thing that I find and it's a big fine, what some of the heating guys are doing is they're walking in and red tagging furnaces. If they don't have the gas fitters tag on it, they're red tagging it. So I'm now calling those out. The seller's now going to do it. I just did a 2-year furnace. So what that gas fitters tag tells us is that they pressure tested the gas line for 20 minutes and it met this and there was no leaks. Without that, they can red tag it. And when they red tag it, your furnace is shut down. They shut you out. So hot water tanks, Reliance is notorious for it. And I will give you a little tip if you have a client that's dealing with Reliance. The easiest way to get Reliance to tell you it's not going to be 2-3 days, because sometimes I go in there, the pipes aren't fitted together, so it's putting carbon monoxide in the house. It's leaking here. Anything that has to do with the gas, I've been there and the homeowners called and they're like, I'm in 2-3 days. And I'm like, okay, can I talk to them? I'm like, well, TSSA said they could be here in an hour unless you can get here before them. They're there. You just got to know the rules to manipulate these people that just feel they shouldn't do their job. So, I'm nice like that. I'm always advocating for the homeowner, the buyers, like, there's no reason for them to be doing these things. They have rules and they should follow them. I have rules, I follow them, but nobody's policing me.
Foundation cracks.
So a lot of times I'll see, so the house yesterday was from 2007. There's a foundation crack, but it's not leaking. So when you go to repair it, it generally will make it look worse than what it is. I believe Terran's 4 millimeters. So like we have these little gauge things that I just put in the crack. If it's that, it's warrantable. If it's not, it's not. If it's not leaking. And in Kingston, God love their soul, you have mason block foundations and you have poured concrete. Mason block foundations should have parging on it because it is a weaker product. It's not as thick. But Kingston likes to put it on their poured concrete foundations so they cover up the cracks. So when you see a crack in the parging, generally there's a crack in the foundation. And you've got to dig down to it. And only Kingston and Ottawa are the only 2 municipalities that I've seen that require the parging to be put on the foundation. It shouldn't. It's cosmetic. Parging is cement and water. Cement's an ingredient in concrete. It's there to design to protect the mason block from elements. It's a porous material, so I failed to see how it really does that. And it falls off. People have a tendency to put layer on layer. You really have to scrape the old one off and then put a new layer on. But yeah, cracks and foundations, there's always going to be settlement cracks. It depends on how thick it is. And look in the basement on the other side, you're looking for water in that area. I just tell people, like, if you go to fix it, generally you make it look like it's a bigger problem than it actually was. You bought a house with a settlement crack, sell it with a settlement crack. We do we'll measure it to give you a threshold, and then if it's moving, then you fix it. If it's not moving, you bought it with a 2 millimeter crack, you're going to sell it with a 2 millimeter crack.
How about horizontal versus vertical?
So the horizontal is lateral pressure and it's detrimental to a house. So what's happening is it's pressure of the ground. So either there's not drainage, the gutters are full. And so when that water comes around the foundation and then it freezes, it pushes, water expands. So those are the worst ones. And most times I've only ever seen those associated with no gutters and downspouts. Poor grading where water can pool against the house. And they are the hardest one to fix. But like the crack that comes the vertical down, they can take that off and they can do an inject and seal that, do it all up. But the horizontal, they are more of an issue. Lots of times you'll go into a mason block foundation and you'll see this oddball knee wall sticking out of mason block. So that's a support wall. People like to remove those. So because it's a mason block and it's like Lego, if you built just a flat wall, it will move. This stabilizes it to keep it from moving. So when you see that oddball wall, it's there for a purpose. People like to remove them. I make them put them back in. Because like I just had one where they took it out and you can't. It's stabilizing that wall. It's kind of like Lego. Like if you just do it with Lego, the wall will be a little weak. You put a vertical one in front. You put a pillar in front of it.
I'm curious, the home inspectors, making great rooms, like removing walls. The home inspectors do anything on ensuring that stability is?
Oh yeah, so I think that depends on the home inspector's knowledge. So I just did one where they converted the garage into a great room, and so you have rafters, you have ceiling joists, and those ceiling joists are keeping everything together. So when I walked up the house, I could see the wall do this. I'm like, So I go in and they've opened it all up. So they've took all the structure out. So when you get a snow load or weight on it, what it's doing is it's pushing that wall out at that point. Because they've transferred the load. Lots of times I'll go into a house. Most times you can go in the neighborhood. Most times I know what the original plan of the house was because I've done so many. I'll go in and I'm like, they took a load bearing wall out. So now I'm looking for how they've carried that load. You can put a beam in, but where you put the post on the main floor, walk over to that post if you think somebody's opened up. If the floor dips, they didn't transfer load. So when they build a house, you have footings that carry the load of the main beam in the house. And then if you've got a column here, a column here, and a column here, and you open it up and you put a load point here, this is going to say because they don't have anything underneath it. So you have to transfer the load. And that's why I like the book, because lots of people want to do open concept. The other thing too, they're famous for, when they see a truss, they think they can open it up. There are two types of trusses, a think truss and a how truss. One is more for open concept. The other one has a center support wall. So most of the houses in the 80s and that have the center support wall. Nobody did open concept back then. So when you take that out, you no longer have that support wall. So you get truss uplift.
I was just going to ask you about that.
It's truss uplift. It flexes up and down. So under structure in the book, it shows you it.
So can you explain what truss uplift looks like at different times of year?
Oh, so truss uplift happens at my house all the time. My house settles and moves. I'm in Prince Edward County. There's a pocket of water, etc. So you will see a crack along the top of the wall, and it will open up in the winter and it'll close in the summer. That means your house is moving, and it's okay. Houses move all the time. It depends on how much. If you got a really wide crack and it doesn't close, then you got something more going on with that. It's just a crack at the top. It'll be a crack at the corner where the door, it'll be a crack here. You have a crack along here that goes up, and it will be just the truss lift. It's just up and down. They could probably take part of that wall out and shim it, but it's been doing it. It's not structurally an issue. It's a cosmetic. So what we did in our house is we put crown molding, and we didn't attach the top, so it goes on behind it, but you can't see it.
What is rafters and trusses?
Okay, so here under structure. So this is a rafter. So you have your ceiling joists, and then you have collar ties in your ceiling joists. I think I know this page because so many people want to do open concept all the time. Sorry. The other thing too, brick structure. So the older houses have brick. There's 2 brick and 3 brick, and you're always looking for a bow in the wall. That tells you things are moving, and it's not something that can be ignored. Generally, they put a steel cable and run it from one side to the other and pull it together, which generally is about $10,000. It's fixable, but normally that is an indication that something's going on with the foundation below. There's rot or something with it. So when you have that brick, the older houses with the brick structure, know that that brick structure has a limestone mortar. It's not the same mortar that they use on the veneer bricks that they have in the houses today. So there's your big truss, and there's your house truss. See how this has got the extra webbing in it?
Yeah.
And this is truss uplift, so it moves. It just moves up just enough. And it would be because things have settled over time. Maybe the ground underneath settled. Maybe they didn't really have the wall tight up against it, and that's where you get truss uplift.
And brick veneer.
Brick veneer. So that's what they use on the houses today. If all the brick fell off your house at a brand new house today, it's got nothing to do with structure. It's like your vinyl siding. It's cosmetic. Don't paint brick. Brick breathe. They need to breathe. So they're a porous material. There's an air space behind it. So when the brick comes up to your soffit overhang like this, there's a gap there. There's an air space. And then there's what's called weep holes at the bottom, which allows that airflow. People like to spray foam those, fill them up, and do all kinds of things. You'll cause mold, mildew, and issues in behind your wall when you do that. So when you're walking around, look at those weep holes, look at the brick on the house. You're going to see settlement cracks. People like to do more damage around garage doors. It's amazing how many people like to whack that wall. But those things are all fixable. They just take it off and put it all back on. When the mortar comes off of it, I mean, my house was built in the 80s. We had them fix all the mortar, kind of like at cottage cheese, because they just didn't really do a great mix. More sand probably, and there's holes, and it was like $500 to fix the whole house. So it wasn't overly expensive.
So what about a house built between, let's say the 50s and 60s that has a crack down through the brick versus a step crack around the bricks?
So things probably would have moved at some point in time. It still is a mason block, wood framed rafters house. So it still is another cosmetic brick. And either because back then they didn't have downspouts, so the water would have washed in the corner of the foundation. Normally if you go in the basement or you look at that corner of the block, everything follows and it goes through. When it cracks through the brick is a little more of an issue, or when the brick start to fall off is a little more of an issue, that things are moving more than they should. Okay. So as long as it follows kind of what they call a step foundation, anything that breaks through is a little more of a serious problem. It would need further look at by, the proper contractor. No, go ahead.
Trees in the front lawns in the city, and their roots getting into like water lines on your lawn. I've seen that before, and they've scoped the sewer line. I'm just wondering when would be like who would.
So the town doesn't cover it.
No.
It's their tree that's done the damage. Most times they don't cover it, especially if it's cast iron. So cast iron corrodes over time. Like lots of times they'll go into the interior of the house. And when they do cast iron, it's 2 pieces that are put and welded together. So there's a seam. Ideally, you'd like to see the seam on the sides, but most times they put it like this, and that seam leaks. So when you're looking at cast iron in a house, it'll have like a little scab on it, for a better word, or a little bubble. Don't touch it. That's ready to blow through the hole on it. That means that cast iron is corroded. And if it's that bad on the inside, can you imagine what the line going outside that's been sitting in water because it's not protected or anything? So you have that scope. And because of that, the roots, that pipe is now weaker. So the roots break through that and then they clog it up. I know the city of Kingston, because I was on the roof in the town. I don't know, whoever was working, she thought it was weird that I was on the roof without safety harness, but I don't know how I can get up there and put one on. They were relining all the cities, so they can reline that rather than dig it up. They can reline it with a system that puts a whole new liner in it, but you have that scope first. So if you have large old trees and you look at the cast iron going outside, chances are you have a higher risk of that having a problem. And if you're not sure when you're in a house, on the bathtub and this thing, same time, let it run for a bit. It's either going to back up or not. But look at that cast iron when you're going through, it will start to rot. And when that rots, it's a leak. And that means you have raw sewage, which now is a level 3 hazmat cleanup in a house for insurance companies. Because it's raw sewage. You can't just clean that up with soap and water. So drains are galvanized. So a lot of the galvanized were used at sinks and that. So galvanized the water lines corrode from the inside out. Same with the drains, they corrode, so they will slowly not drain because it's just choked it off. So that's something that you would, and you can see them, they're gray, they're steel. Carry a magnet with you. If you're not sure what the main water line's on, carry a magnet with you. Touch it to the main water line coming in. If it sticks to it, it's galvanized. If it doesn't, it's either lead, copper, or plastic. Lead's very easily, it bends, it weighs. I learned that the hard way on this one. I had to put it through my insurance. That's what it's for. We're all going to make mistakes. It's how you, as a home inspector, for me, when I train them. So it was my mistake. I went back, I did my due diligence. You call, said that the homeowner or the plumber said it was lead. And I'm like, nah, I went back and I'm like, oh yeah. I said, I'll call my insurance company. I put it through the insurance. Her water line was replaced. My reputation's intact. When you make a mistake, own it as a home inspector. The insurance companies don't like us to admit fault. I will tell you that. I got in trouble for admitting I made a mistake. I guess we're supposed to say, I'll get back to you. Don't post this anywhere. My insurance company can see this. Will you? Thanks.
Bleep that out.
Yeah, bleep that out.
It
Yeah.
sounds like a.
But no, so we all have insurance, and you know, like if we make a mistake where everybody's under the impression that they can't sue us. I've been sued 3 times. They had nothing to do with me. They just involved me in it. And I go back to see what it is. But yeah, you can sue a home inspector. There's nothing wrong. Our contracts say I'm only liable for the cost of my inspection. If that's the reason, how come I'm paying $8,000 a year for insurance if I can just give them a refund for $565? So we are. And just be very careful how a home inspector writes their contract. So when we do it, it says we're doing all of this. And we can manipulate our contracts to only do certain things. And we could do it for a listing agent, and we're not covered because it clearly states not for I did it for you. So if you're buying, you can't sue me because I did it for you, unless you have me change that contract. So be careful how the contracts are written. I don't think, like I know, so in another area of the province, it's going on really badly. One inspector's manipulating his contract to do all that, and the agents aren't aware of the whole thing. So my goal is to kind of help let you know what our role and responsibilities are, because we can cost someone an incredible amount of money. We can destroy we can destroy lives. We can do all kinds of things if we don't do our job right.
How about wet inspections?
Wet inspections, so I'm wet certified. So they keep changing the rules on those. It's incredible. Before we used to have a label on the back of the stove or the manual. Now they're making us look for both. We have them on there. So again, it's a whole other association. I'm wet certified, so I belong to that association. If I make a mistake, it's my responsibility to pay for that mistake. Or you can report me to the association, they'll find me and then they'll make me pay for that mistake. So we are so literally the wet, we all have our own specific numbers. We are governed by them. We do have rules and responsibility, and there are consequences when you make mistakes if you don't do it right. Okay. Yeah.
How about, if there was, sometimes when you have properties, they're close to town, but not necessarily, and they may have had some, water go in and things like that, where the well may not have been decommissioned, or the septic may not have been, they haven't taken care of that appropriately. Are there any signs that we can look for that?
So sometimes you'll see an old line that goes out. So the house I did the other day, it's now hooked up to municipal, but there's an old line that goes out there. There's no way to know, but I can tell you when I see that old line out, I can say to you, hey, listen, there was an old septic system in the back. Generally, they pump them out, they crush the tank, and they just leave them right there. But there's no way of knowing that if you do that. And the same thing with the well, if it's decommissioned, when they do that, there's nobody out policing it, nobody out telling them. Wells are registered now, so there's nothing about my well that's in a pit in the ground that's code compliant. There's nothing forcing me to bring it up to code, and if you're buying my house, I'm not bringing it up to code. It's grandfathered. So grandfathered is another famous word. So what's not grandfathered, and I've learned quite a bit at the conference that I was in Oshawa. The fire code is really, so if it's done before 1994, there's a little more grandfathering on duplexes, legal, non-legal conforming stuff that you can get away with more for that. Anybody that's doing renovations, check with your municipality, because they really are, even if they're flipping a cosmetic, they still will have to bring them up to code. So there's no gray area there. So be careful with that, because, it will be the person who buys the house. So let's say they buy the house, somebody flipped it, and it's been an old triplex, and they've done a bunch of changes to it and wiring and all that. That person that bought that house is now liable. Not the seller, not the inspector, nobody. You're going to get blamed for it. You're going to be on the hook for it. So that's where you really have to be careful. 1994 seems to be a magic number with the fire inspectors. If it's before that. So again, in Ontario, the law changed January 1st. Carbon monoxide is now required on each level, and it is not grandfathered. That is mandatory for everybody in the province of Ontario.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah. At one per level. Yeah. So yeah, I did find that out.
I worked at Home Depot during the new year, and they actually, the problems ran out of carbon
Yeah.
monoxide.
Yes.
It was such a run, it was absolutely crazy.
Well, because it's mandatory. And the worst of it is when I saw like a fire chief, I'm like, oh, are you guys out there after this? No, just social media. That's how they're getting it out there. Yet they're making it mandatory, but not really telling anybody.
Everybody, yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody knew, but I think it was, they relied on us to tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's told me.
Yeah. So if you're rental property, you're liable for it.
But you don't have
But if you
gas
if you have
in your
electric-
home, you have electric in your home.
Yes,
so-
you don't have to worry about it.
If there's anything combustible, if you have a combustible
Any-
device,
Anything that burns like gas or propane.
Mhm.
so whether it's
Maybe that's like a smoker,
No, it's not inside the house.
but that's good.
Yep, so you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, if it's
like
electric,
a
you-
furnace or hot water
Yeah.
heater.
So when you're looking at homes that are electric,
they only require
electric
smoke.
heat,
They only require smoke detectors. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is when you're looking at a house, lots of people like to advertise the amperage on their house based on the panel that's on the wall. So it's an overhead line. There are two ways that you can tell what the overhead line is carrying. There'll be one that'd be a black block, and it's about the size of my hand that's up in there. There'll be two of them high up in the air, and that means that house has The line that's from the street to the house has 200 amp. That does not mean it's 200 amp to the house. There's another one where you'll see it's about the size of my finger, and there'll be 3 of them up there, and that's 100 amp service overhead. Again, that I just did one house, I believe it was in Kingston here. It's got 100 amp. It's listed as 100 amp, but the house only has 50 amp.
And those are black?
Yeah, they're little black cylinders that are up there, about the size of your finger, and there'll be 3 of them. So the black, the white, and the neutral will be on there. And then the other ones are just 2 big black blocks, and that's 200.
I learned something today. Thank you.
So that's the overhead line.
Yeah.
Has 100 amp to the pole and 200 to the stack coming down in the house. Okay. That does not mean that's what's going into the house.
So if you've got, let's say someone, there's only 100 amp coming into the house and someone's put up a 200 amp panel, there is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a problem.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's not right. It's not rated for that panel. The overhead line can still carry it. Sometimes that overhead line can carry 200 amp and only have 100 there. And again, you'd have to check with Kingston Utilities. Underground, it's impossible to see. We have to rely on the meter base where it says 200 amp, that meter base can carry 200 amp. But again, it's the line that comes in underground. We can't see. It's a conduit goes into the back of the panel. We can't see that. So we have to rely on the front. We're permitted to pull the cover off the panel, but we are not permitted to pull that section off.
And sometimes we find fun things like mice and
Snakes.
snakes.
Snakes. I might have said a word or two.
We found some mice together.
Yeah.
But I wasn't with Karen for the snake,
No,
thankfully.
it was dead, but it didn't matter. I don't like snakes. I don't mind anything else. I don't like snakes. The other thing too, so panels, there's a beige panel. It's called a stab lock panel. It's obsolete, and the breakers are difficult to get for it. If they can get a breaker, so I have that panel in my house. They were from the mid 80s to the early 90s. If you read up on it, it says it's explode. It can do all kinds of stuff. Ron Finkel Electric's in my area, and so he does all my electrical. And I just put a whole home generator, and they can work around all that stuff. The breakers are difficult to find, so if you can't get a breaker, you need it. You need a new panel. If you want to put an arc fault interrupter, that panel doesn't support it, so you might need to upgrade your panel.
And a lot of that, I think, caveat with insurance too. Because the house.
Federal stab lock they're after too. It's a beige or gray federal stab lock. Some insurance companies are making people replace them.
So I had to replace it was a fuse box.
Yeah.
And I had to replace, they gave me 60 days to replace.
Yeah, some of them aren't, and it depends on the insurance company. Like I can go and see a fuse panel and everything's great with it, but that doesn't mean your insurance company's going to take it. So that's why I always say, like, when you get there, bring that list with you for get your clients to bring that list so we can answer all those questions.
Insurance is good. I was like, get copper, get like.
Yeah.
Really weird questions.
When was the electrical last updated? So on electrical wiring, there is a date code on some electrical wiring, so you can trace it back there to get the date on. They want to know when the panel's been upgraded, when the electrical's been upgraded, when the plumbing's been upgraded. They want all these questions, and the homeowners just don't know the answers. So that's why I say ask them to check with their insurance first before they come out to the inspection, so that we can look at that list and provide them with the best information possible.
So some insurance companies may ask you to update the fuse box.
Mm-hmm.
May not. If they do, they give you a timeline to update it.
Some of them will. Some of them will. I had one lady that there was galvanized, just one line of galvanized, and they would not insure that house until that was replaced, and it was an estate sale, and nobody wanted to do it. So it was very difficult.
Depends on the relationship you have with insurance.
Yeah.
That's the buyer.
Aluminum wiring. Let me talk to you about aluminum wiring. So it was used in the early to mid 70s. So the wiring that runs through the walls is fine. There's never generally an issue. So today we use a 14-2 wire. When they did the aluminum, they used a 12-2 because aluminum loses carries the power. It loses power from point A to point B. So what it was the outlets and switches were only designed to be connected to copper. So you have that screw, and you've got an aluminum wire wrapped around it. And every time you plug something in, if you turned it on or off, those two dissimilar metals over time heated up, they expanded and contract. So they may have had a gap, which arced and caused a fire. So there's a retrofit 3-inch piece of copper pigtail. It's called copper wire. So they take the aluminum wire off. They use a purple or brown marette only, are the only compatible ones. They use the dielectric grease or antioxidant base. They put that on and then they hook the copper to that switch. That's the retrofit. To this date, most new houses in our area, the main underground line that goes from the pole to the panel is aluminum. And you can tell that at a new house because they are required by ESA to where it's a 200 amp service, and all of a sudden you'll see 189A written in black marker on the panel. That's telling me that the underground line is aluminum, because I'm not allowed to pull that cover off. So that's how I know it is. So the wiring that runs through the walls is fine. It's the outlets and switches. The older wiring that is cloth cased and it's got a paper braided with your black and your white and your ground wire. And when that stuff gets wet, it technically should be replaced because the paper holds moisture around the ground wire and it corrodes. So that's the only downfall with that. If you have wiring that's no longer ground, it's black and white, no ground wire, there's a retrofit for that where people seem to think they need to rewire the house. So where that wire goes into the panel, the electrician would pull that out and they put what's called a faceless GFI. So it's just the reset buttons. There's no outlets to it. And then they wire that new wire into the panel. And that way, if there's any surge at the panel, it pops and it pops the GFI. So everything after it that's not grounded, that's plugged into grounded outlets, it loses power, and it protects your computers, laptops, and all that kind of stuff.
So if you see a home that has a 2-prong outlet, what does that tell you?
So so sometimes the grounded wiring had those 2 prongs on it. So you have to physically look in it and see if there's a ground wire to it. Because sometimes it's grounded, you just need to change the cover. If it's not, technically you're supposed to leave the 2-prong cover there and not upgrade it, because that's where you break ESA code, but nobody's policing it. Nobody's checking it. So the retrofit and to protect it is that faceless GFI at the panel. So sometimes you go to an older electrical panel, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 of them there. That means an electrician's been in it and done that work on it. What else? My head's reeling. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you. These are all just things that as an agent, you can look at those things and do it. So aluminum wiring generally is green. And copper is green too. Silver with green writing on it. White, like a little, our white wires are white today. The aluminum is just a little bit of a yellow to it and have green lettering on it. That's aluminum. So you can tell when you're at a house, you can see that. Windows, age of a house, you can find the age of the window generally either on the window or in the track of the window.
Usually.
But
I don't rate the new ones now. I don't know.
Some of them have a black inside, so they're
Yeah.
not there.
Like
There are a
yesterday's
few
was
that-
2023. It was actually a little stamp etched
In the corner of the window.
glass.
I have been finding some lately that. don't
No,
have an
some
age
some
on it.
yeah, some
Yeah.
of them are. Some of them don't. But you have to assume they're still at least 20 years old. How are we doing for time?
We are 5 minutes over.
Over?
Yeah.
Over. Okay.
So
Here I
we've got a lot
was
of
worried about
information.
being able to cover off 2 hours of yakking.
Nope, we've got a lot of information. And we didn't go crazy over. it.
No, okay. Yeah, that was amazing. So I have, like, if you want to take my card, you can leave it in the agents. Anybody that ever has a question, feel free to literally take a picture and text it to me. It's so much easier to help everything with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll leave all that information for you guys.
Super.
Thank you so much.
Take a book.
Thank you, Karen.
Can we,
You can book.
another one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Take a book.
What's the laser pointer?
Yeah, it's a little flashlight. Just
Oh.
happy, so she just might put on her purse.
They're great for doors in darkness.